So, guys, this is a really departure for us as SATSA. I've been at the helm for 7.5 years. I took over. We had 500 members, mainly in South Africa. We were not liquid. We were bankrupt. It's been an amazing journey. I mean, it's been a hard journey in terms of the issues and the struggles that we take on. And I just want to sort of emphasize that this is an organization that does the heavy lifting. We're engaged in the main thrust of trying to get this industry to be treated in a competitive way, which benefits both our South African members, but it also benefits operators and agents and players around the world that also make a living from sending people to South Africa. And it has an acute political dimension to it. I mean, the sort of political economy of tourism it's just inexorably sort of linked in there. So that's certainly one of the key things. 7 years, I think we've been successful in not only driving those agendas, but in the process communicating very well to members, putting value adds in place, and really speaking about the credibility that the SATSA family brings to the party, so that when you're dealing with a SATSA member, particularly in South Africa, you're dealing with credible and viable businesses. So we're incredibly proud to be able to say that we now represent 1,300 companies in South Africa. And a great testament to the resilience and the gees, which is a South African word for spirit and camaraderie that we have within SATSA, is in this incredibly tough year, 84% of SATSA members are paid up and have paid their fees this year. They value the organization. They value the communication. They value the ability to interact with each other. But what we've never done is we've never really played predominantly or looked at the marketing place, the sort of marketing space, and how we could galvanize and add value to this rich membership that we have in other ways. We have, and I won't really call them competitor associations, but there are other associations that predominantly do marketing and don't do any of the heavy lifting. So one of the things that we did get going sort of last year, or actually about over the last 2 years, is we structured into various regional chapters, and our Garden Route chapter have been particularly proactive and really led the sort of charge on this of putting a lot of what we call regional mega FAMs together. Getting a lot of our DMCs, we have about 550 DMCs or inbound tour operators as SATSA members, into particular areas so that we can unearth new product and better sell them. And we've been able to replicate these around the country. They're particularly useful initiatives, and we get great feedback from sort of members in that regard. So one of the things is, how do we take this rich base, and how do we then link into the buyers that a lot of our members have relationships with? So that was a question that was always been hanging there. I was privileged, as I said earlier in the webinar. I sit on the Tourism Business Council board, and I chair the marketing committee. So last year there was it's the first time we've done a joint roadshow with SAT. So it was the CEO of SA Tourism at the time, the CEO of the TBC, and myself went in. We did all our key source, the sort of main source markets of Europe and North America. So we were in London, we were in Zurich, we were in Vienna, Frankfurt. We then did 5 cities in the US, including Toronto. And we met with all the top operators that service those markets. At that stage, one of the big issues was safety and security in the country. And everybody was saying, what's going on? And as SATSA, and under the mantra of control what you can control, we put an incredibly proactive program together that was aimed at essentially being able to communicate, to interact, and to get real-time information to people around the safety and security situation. The tour operators' eyes went really big, and they said, well, this is amazing. How do we get access to this? And I said, well, you've got to go through the original members. And they said, well, can't we get it? And this is part of the genesis, guys, in terms of the thinking that the SATSA board has deliberated on. And we've said, well, why don't we just open this up? Let's create an international associate membership category. The local South African membership category is a big part of it is around credibility, so that we check everybody's finances on an annual basis, insurance levels. So there's a big part of that that's important for the South African membership base. That's not important in terms of extending our offering into the international market. So there's no admin or joining fee. It's a flat fee. It's $499 for the year. And that will run from the time you, as an international member, join us until the next year. And, so what do you get for that? Well, the main thing is a application that SATSA puts out. And we put a lot on our website. And through the pandemic, I think we've done a really good job. And I mean, when I'm finished, it's really up to the sort of three members in the room to give you their views about how they see it, not for me to sort of try and sort of punt that side. But we've done this, guys, in a very magnanimous way. We're a sort of broad church, so we just put all that stuff out, and anybody can get access to this, whether you're a SATSA member or not. Going forward, our board has said we need to just actually pull things in a little bit. We have members who are struggling but are willing to pay because they get a value. So that access to the information that's gone out pro bono is going to be restricted going forward. But this is why we think this rich base of communication and being able to get this in your source markets in real time, not only about how this is opening up and starting, but once we do open up around key aspects of the tourism sector. And the main thing that came in was that when you are sitting with a prospective customer that's in front of one of your consultants, there are a lot of concerns around South Africa, around perceptions. And if you are able to allay those in real time with hard, real facts at your disposal, your ability to conclude that transaction just goes up through the roof. If you don't have that, that's when all we do is divert people to Costa Rica, New Zealand, and other exotic parts of the world. So, that's one of the main sort of features of it. The other one is that in becoming a SATSA member from an international perspective, you will get access to the SATSA database. So you will get access to 1,300 credible companies. It's disaggregated in detail. You'll know exactly what they do, where they are, also what turnover tier they sort of fall into. And I think that's an incredibly useful thing. When we were in Germany, one of the key big things that we've got to deal with in this country is transformation. We've got to bring in more Black businesses into the tourism economy. It's a political imperative. So the tour operators said in Germany, look, we hear this and we understand it, but where do we find credible Black businesses to do business with? And, the SA tourism guys didn't have an answer, and they were all sort of looking at each other like this. And I said, well, actually, hang on. SATSA can help you here. We can bring, and I'm going to give you guys, by the end of this meeting, 120 Black-owned SATSA businesses. There they are. There's all their details. You've got the description, and please start transacting with them. So as we emerge from this pandemic, from the pandemic, and we open up, and we will do it at some stage, guys, it's going to be very important to know who's left standing, both in your markets and in our market. And what this really enables us to do is to create a virtual buying bubble. And I think the marketing potentials and the stuff that we can do to drive synergies on both sides are going to be fairly good going forward, and will add value to both our members in South Africa and our new fraternity that we're hoping to sort of grow around the globe. So that's the punt from me. But if you've got any questions, happy to sort of handle those. But I'm going to hand over now to our members and just hear from them, what they think about SATSA and if they think this is a good way forward. So Helen, you've been very patient, and we go back a long way. But over to you and kick off with you, and then we'll go to Monica and end off with Rob.